Hi, everybody. My name is Christine Machado. I'll be, Rochelle and I will be co-senior judging today, and but I'll take the lead. I've been judging for about 6 years. This is my first year as a senior judge, so I'm excited for that role. I am a retired operations manager, was my most recent role, senior vice president in banking, and played a lot of customer service, operational and organizational development roles. And I will pass it over to Rochelle.
Hi, Christine. Just so I don't mess up like I did last time, do we have any other judges?
Right.
Yes, right here.
Brent and Michael and Devin. Thank you.
Brent, Michael, and Devin? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm Rochelle Ferris, and I have been doing this, I think, 5 or 6 years. It's all running together. But I retired from a technology career a few years ago, and I managed implementation projects for large software companies like SAP, Oracle, and UKG. And now I'm currently enjoying my encore career as a chaplain for a major hospital.
How about Michael?
Yes, hi. I guess my name is Mike Galvin. I currently own a company that helps adults with disabilities find employment within the UC system in California. So I've been running that for about 10 years, and this is my 3rd year of judging for the competition, so it's good to be here.
Brent. Thank you, Mike.
Morning, everyone. Brent Lloyd. I am president at Aries Software. We're a education technology firm, EdTech, that does student data management, mostly in California and Texas at the K-12 level. About 3 million students that we manage the data for, and this is my first time judging one of these competitions.
Right. Devin?
Sure. My name's Devin Dingler. This is my first time judging, so all new to me, but I'm looking forward to it. I am general counsel and chief financial officer for a tech company. We mainly develop software, developing applications and digital sites for all kinds of clients.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. So I'll just do the opening comments here. So in this part of the competition, you're taking on a fictional business identity and assigning a fictional business identity to the judges. Please make sure that everyone that knows who you are and who they are before you begin. You will have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all 3 counts. During this time, teams will not be interrupted. When you're finished, the judges will ask you questions for 10 to 15 minutes. And during the Q&A, both you and you guys and we will stay in character. And then after the Q&A, we will give you feedback outside the role that you're playing. So just to be sure, I want to make sure that I've got this down. So could you clarify just for a moment, just for Brent, Devin, Mike, Rochelle, and I, like what role are we playing? I see that the American Association of College and Universities, but there's the forum. What is our role in this?
So we would ask that you place yourselves into our audience, which is the American Association of Colleges and Universities, on transformational leadership. And as members, you're at a conference and we are a consulting team trying to create a more fair application process for students based on merit, not legacy.
Okay, so we're at the forum. I wasn't sure if you were asking us to add you to the conference topics or we're at the forum and you're talking to us.
Yes, we're speaking at the forum.
Wonderful. Okay, any questions from the judges before we start? Okay, Rochelle's gonna keep a 25-minute timer and she will give you a 5-minute warning. Okay, so in 20 minutes, she'll give you a 5-minute warning. and then we will conclude, and then we will ask some questions, okay? All right. I will hand it over to one of you. To Hannah, was that Hannah starting?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have not been being kicked out, so maybe I'll try to share the screen and hopefully I don't get kicked out.
Thank you.
Let me just get on
We'll wait for
here.
you if you have to come back.
Okay, then I will click share screen.
And also tell us what role you're playing.
Okay. Are you able to see that?
We
Yes,
are.
PowerPoint.
Okay. Awesome. And then just need to move this.
You just click on slideshow. There you go.
Okay, awesome. And then just move this up here. Okay. So we are the Pouncing Partying Panthers consulting team. And today we stand before you to address the critical issue that impacts the very core of our educational system, which is legacy admissions. This practice is where universities give special treatments to applicants with familial connections to the alumni or the school, and it raises significant legal concerns, ethical concerns, financial concerns that just cannot be ignored. So we're just going to introduce ourselves a little bit. I am Hannah Richardson, and I am the team manager.
I am Peyton Walsh, and I am the team editor.
Hello, I'm Ben Fuchs, and I'm also a team editor.
Hello, I'm Ryan Wasmer, and I'm the team enforcer.
All right, so I'm Ben Fuchs, and I'm going to give a quick layout of our presentation today. Our layout includes, first, I'll be going over a quick overview of legacy admissions. I'll say another quick formal introduction to the board of directors, judges. Then I'll quickly define legacy admissions, quick definition, and then I'll give a quick fun fact after that. Then I'll go over the main ethical issue and solutions. And then second, I'll talk about the possible legal solutions as well as the financial and ethical solutions. Obviously, with this issue, there are a few solutions that are ethically and morally incorrect, but we also did find some that can work out. And then third, I'll be going over the legal dimension. That'll be one of my teammates. And then after that, we'll be discussing the financial as well as the business dimension, and the certain issues that the financial aspects create. And then lastly, we'll conclude with the ethical dimension of legacy admissions and end with a one more thing conclusion slide. Okay, so for the overview, once again, good afternoon, board of directors, judges. Thank you for joining us today, and we are excited to share our studies and findings on legacy admissions. So another quick definition of legacy admissions. This is a practice within the admissions process throughout colleges and universities in the nation. And this gives the ability to certain applicants that apply that they could check out a part of their application that says they have connections within their family who have attended the university or college in the past. And this gives an advantage to them over some other students that do not have connections. And the main reason why schools and universities have adapted this practice is basically for financial gain for the school. They realize that the alumni that have attended the school have the financial ability to attend, and they realize that whether it's their kids or cousins or whoever it shall be, that they probably also have that financial ability to go, as well as give donations as alumni. So, so based off our research and team brainstorming, we have come to an agreement that legacy admissions are not ethically fair, and they also eliminate equality within the application process. So throughout the semester, through our studies and research, we have found that they are not ethically fair. Also, many students with qualifications or credentials that allow them to be accepted are not accepted into the schools in favor of these legacy applicants. So that shows that it is not a fair practice. All right, so now I'll be discussing some of the solutions. There are three main solutions. We have the legal solutions, ethical solutions, and financial solutions. Before I dive into this, like I said earlier, not all the solutions are ethically and morally correct. So when I talk about the financial solutions, I will explain that. So first, with the legal solutions, the U.S. Department of Education, they can make changes within their department, and state laws, and they could also, or states can also pass laws banning the legacy admissions as a whole. The Department of Education can provide more information on how the legacy application works. And they can also provide data based on previous acceptance rates with these students. Now moving into the ethical solutions, we could see that more Title IX funding and promoting equality and fairness can help with this. And now for the financial solutions, this can include eliminating student financial aid. This might not be ethical, but can be beneficial for a financial solution. And yeah, so that's it for that. And now I'll be passing it to Hannah for what are legacy admissions and why should we care about it.
Hello. So, as we already know, what legacy admissions are, they're controversial and prioritize applicants based on familial ties rather than merit alone. Universities risk facing legal action like lawsuits, which people could allege discrimination against other qualified candidates. Also, ethically, this practice not only undermines principles of equal opportunity, but also tarnishes the reputation of said institutions using it. And legacy admissions also raises financial concerns and overall impacts diversity and inclusion at said universities and creates a cycle of privilege. So I'm going to be speaking on the legal dimension of legacy admissions. As for the legal dimension, while legacy admissions are not inherently illegal, they have the potential to perpetuate socioeconomic inequalities and potentially violate anti-discrimination laws. I will go into further detail of the legal dimension of legacy admissions, including past and in progress laws, potential reasons one could sue, lawsuits, and some solutions and the legality of those solutions that Ben talked about. So as for some past and in progress laws, we've seen recent legislative actions against legacy admissions, such as Virginia, where the Virginia General Assembly recently passed a bill unanimously to prohibit legacy admissions in the state. Governor Glenn Youngkin is expected to sign the bill into law, signaling a shift towards merit-based admissions. This action follows the Supreme Court ban on race conscientious admissions in public universities, which was passed in 2023, prompting reevaluation of legacy admissions. Secondly, similarly, Senators Tim Kaine and Todd Young have introduced the Merit Act, aiming to end legacy admissions by altering accreditation requirements for colleges. The bill seeks to eliminate non-merit-based factors in college admissions, and argues that legacy preferences hinder opportunities for talented individuals and perpetuate social inequality. These legislative efforts highlight the growing recognition of the need to address the inherent unfairness of legacy admissions. So now, some potential reasons to sue. Lawsuits have been brought against universities regarding legacy admissions, where the challengers argue violations of anti-discrimination laws and deserving students being unfairly disadvantaged. Because like we said before, some students that are brought in through legacy admissions wouldn't have gotten into the school if they weren't brought in by the legacy admissions. So they're taking spots from deserving students. As for lawsuits, a lawsuit against the University of California, Berkeley happened in 2009 when a group of students filed a lawsuit against the university. The lawsuit alleged that Berkeley's practice of giving special treatment to legacy admission applicants violated state law, specifically Law 209, which prohibits discrimination or special treatment based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in public education, employment, and contracting. The student argued that legacy admissions perpetuated unfair advantages for students based on their family connections rather than their individual qualifications, thereby violating the principle of equal opportunity. While the lawsuit was dismissed by a federal judge in 2011, it highlighted the ongoing debate and legal scrutiny surrounding legacy admissions policies at universities and began more lawsuits being brought upon as people also agreed with those students that filed the lawsuit. With that being said, looking ahead, there is potential for more lawsuits against universities with legacy admissions, especially if these policies are perceived to discriminate against certain groups or violate legal principles. With that being said, legacy admissions tend to favor white and wealthy applicants, leading to significant racial disparities. Furthermore, studies have also shown that many legacy admission students wouldn't have been admitted without their legacy status, which again disadvantages other qualified applicants. So, on to solutions and the legality of these solutions. In addressing these legal challenges, we must consider two things: government regulation and policy changes by universities as viable solutions. As for government regulation, governments can enact laws and regulations to prohibit or limit legacy preferences in public universities, as seen in the Virginia General Assembly. This would legally prevent universities from considering legacy admissions entirely. In regards to the university policy changes, universities themselves can voluntarily eliminate or reduce legacy preferences in their admissions policies. This involves updating the admissions criteria to prioritize academic merit and potential over family connections. This is a less likely solution just because universities a lot of times take students in as legacy admissions because they know the cash flow will come with them. They're usually from pretty wealthy families. But both of these solutions function within the confines of current legal structures. So they are both legal. Government regulations, exemplified by Virginia's case, carry legal weight and can be enforced. Likewise, universities possess the legal authority to enact policy adjustments concerning admissions criteria. Now I'm going to pass it over to Ryan to discuss the financial dimension of legacy admissions.
Oh, it's Peyton. But
Ryan or Peyton.
no, you're all good. So I'll be talking about the financial problems. The three big ones are revenue, alumni relationships, and fundraising. So with revenue, legacy admission can be very beneficial for universities due to the revenue, because with that, the alumni relationships come along with the revenue. With an alumni relationship, you can A, get their kid to go there because of the legacy admission, and B, they tend to donate more after graduating from them because they're an alumni. And if they were to get rid of legacy admissions, there's ways to get around it without the alumni relationships and the legacy kids going there. It's fundraising and making alumni, even though their kid doesn't have a secure spot in there and he has to work hard as just like everyone else, that they can get their kids they can still be big into the school and fundraise and donate still to the school and still make money off that way. And then some financial legal problems is litigation costs. So universities may have to pay a hefty fine as a result of legal challenges to legal admission policies. Another one is settlements and damages. Some settlement and damages is universities, because of them being discriminating towards other people, they might have to pay parties settlements and damages under them not treating people equally, and how they're taking legacy admissions over other qualified individuals. And they might have to start budgeting a lot more, because legally they would have to go to court and do everything there and have to deal with that. And then another legal problem is the changes in legislation or case law. Some universities may incur costs due to the laws changing. If they were to change the laws of legacy, they might have to they'd have to go maybe have to pay settlements due to all the legacy they've done in the past and what they've done, and they'll have to start budgeting a lot better and getting new students in and stuff like that. So and the next one is ethical problems, financial ethical problems. Three big ones are discrimination, the state funding, and fairness. So for discrimination, anti-discrimination laws may be potentially violated by legacy admission. They are, one way is because predominantly white, rich individuals are the ones that are getting into these schools because their parents went there, and it's discriminating against people that are just as smart, if not smarter, have better overall qualities of them. And then state and federal funding, publicly funded universities may face legal scrutiny for admissions practices, including legal preferences, because with all the state funding, schools will have to start figuring out different ways to make money, and some states won't give them the money they've been getting from grants and everything. And fairness is just because your grandmother, grandfather, parents, people down, like cousins and stuff went to the school doesn't mean you should be treated that way. And how there's other students that may not come from a very wealthy family and they're just treated unfair just because their family didn't go there. That is an ethical problem that is with legacy admission. And some solutions, there's alumni relationships and fundraising. So with the solution, say getting rid of legacy admission, just because you might lose money out of the first couple of years because of alumni might be not very happy with the school and might not like how things are going. Some people are like that because their kid can't go there. That might be one of the solutions that might happen. You might end up losing money out of the beginning, and then the impact on revenue with this amount of students wouldn't change going there, because every school would take in the same amount of students no matter what, even if so that wouldn't change at all on a solution. But the impact on revenue of the donations from alumni, because the alumni relationships aren't there as much as they were, but after for the first couple years, it might not make as much money, but after that, if you continue to make all these alumni like the school, love the school, no matter if their kid can go there or not, it can help in the long run make more money for your school, because then you don't have to worry about if you have to let their kid into school or not. And then now I'll be passing it on to Ryan to talk about the ethical concerns.
All right. The ethical concerns that legacy admission raises is it prioritizes family connections over merit, raising fairness concerns. Critics argue they keep alive social inequity by favoring privileged black backgrounds. They lack of transparency in the process undermines public trust and diversity efforts. With could you just slide? Yeah. With banning legacy admissions, it is important to step towards creating a more equitable and merit-based higher education system. By eliminating preferential treatment based on familiar connections, in colleges and universities can prioritize fairness and equal opportunity during the admissions process. Such a policy would signal a shift away from historical practice of favoring certain individuals based on family background and more toward an inclusive approach that values people for their own merits and accomplishments. Prohibiting legacy admissions would send a strong message about the institution's commitment to diversity, social mobility, and academic excellence. For example, in 2018, the acceptance rate for legacy admission at Princeton University was about 30%, while everyone else was a 5% admission rate for all applicants. The significant difference in acceptance rates highlights the preferential treatment in legacy applicants. There are several reasons why legacy admissions are unethical. They prioritize applicants with familiar ties to alumni, those with merit or qualifications, thereby unfair benefiting privileged students who already have college admissions advantages.
Ryan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have 5 minutes left for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Legacy admissions undermine academic excellence and merit-based selection by prioritize familiar ties over academic achievements. They lack transparency in the admission process, raising sorry about that. Just stumbled on my words. To summarize it, legacy admissions raise serious ethical concerns in higher education by perpetrating privileging, undermining fairness, and limiting diversity and inclusion. Colleges and universities must prioritize fairness, transparency, and equal opportunity for all applicants by reconsidering admissions policies and implementing merit-based admissions. And to the next slide. Now, however, keeping legacy admissions is essential to acknowledge that argument with legacy admissions honoring family contributions to the institution and allow them to continue their college or university tradition. This preservation of institutional heritage fosters a sense of alumni coming all together and keeping by maintaining a tradition of legacy admissions, educational institutions can enhance the overall student experience. Students who come from legacy families may feel stronger connection to the institution, leading to a greater involvement in campus life and more fulfilling educational journeys. Legacy admissions can also contribute to the financial stability of educational institutions. Alumni who have benefited from legacy admissions are more likely to give back to the colleges through donations and support, helping to fund scholarships and campus improvements. Furthermore, legacy admissions provide opportunities for furthermore, the debate of legacy admissions continue. It is important to recognize the positive contributions they make to higher education by preserving institutional heritage, strengthening alumni networks, and changing students' experiences, ensuring financial stability, and focusing on alumni networking and supporting. And now I would like to pass it off over to Ben Fuchs for one more thing.
All right, in conclusion, one more thing. I do have a personal experience with legacy admissions myself during the while I was a senior in high school applying to different colleges and universities. Before I get into that, real quick, a fun fact I found while I was doing my research in a poll taken by Insight into Diversity, 75% of Americans and 89% of college admissions directors currently oppose legacy admissions. I thought that was really interesting. That was kind of a public poll taken to see what the public eye thinks about this issue. And obviously, most people are against legacy admissions. So I thought that was very interesting. Back to my personal experience with legacy admissions. I had a few cousins attend Florida State University. And so I applied there in high school. And my ACT score wasn't high enough to get in, but I still got accepted because of legacy admissions. And I remember actually filling out a couple questions such as, what year did your cousins attend? What were their grades? What are their financial, the family's financial state and whatnot? So that is it for our conclusion. And thank you guys very much for listening today.
Yes, thank you.
So this is Rochelle. I'm the senior judge. I have a question for the team. Does the scope of this presentation include state and private institutions?
Yes. So state institutions can be regulated by the government, like I said, but private as well can, but they would have to make their own policy changes within their application process.
So I'm kind of having a little contention between if you're attending a state institution, isn't the tuition set by the state? Maybe I'm California centric here, but the tuition is set by the state. Does it matter how wealthy or not wealthy your parents are?
No, it doesn't. That the tuition isn't the problem with all of it. It's usually wealthier families donate more money to the school. So no matter if it's a state school or not. So usually they'll take them, like Ben said in his experience of how much money is sustained, how are they doing after college and stuff, because they worry more about if they're going to get donations after the fact to help with scholarships and things like that. So the tuition isn't really financially the problem with it. It's more of after the fact, are you getting donations from the family, or are they still involved with the university or not?
Thank you.
And just, I have a follow-up to that question. Did you find, or was there any research that you found, was there a difference between the public and the private as far as the legacy admissions percentages?
Private seem to have a higher percentage. I think it was Ryan that had said that some of them are as high as 30% are legacy admissions, which is
Okay.
a lot if you think about it. And then most state schools are quite a bit lower. So it's mostly
Okay.
private, but there are still state schools that do legacy admissions.
Thank you for that. That was Ryan that had, yeah, I had actually put that into Ryan's thing because you breezed through that statistic. I didn't quite catch, you said 30%, but then you moved into 80%. I wasn't sure what the difference was, Ryan, if you remember.
Oh, I might have, this was probably on me on stumbling on my words. It was a 30% for legacy admissions, and then it was 5% for overall admissions.
Oh,
I apologize on that one. I must have stumbled up on my words.
that's okay. Maybe I heard it wrong. I was looking for it on the slide, but okay, thank you.
All right, just, I don't mean to dominate, but I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we all do, and
Okay.
Go ahead.
The scope of this is legacy admissions, and I feel a little contentious about somebody mentioned white rich kids quite a few times, and how would this be? Could this be extended to like religious institutions, or I'm thinking HBCUs, how they pretty much rely on alumni steering students toward their colleges?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Yeah,
sorry.
so I'm thinking that, it's probably the definition of legacy, but one of the things that popped to mind is how this could extend to religious institutions, right? Like Brigham Young University. Are we going to not give privilege to
the
LDS students, or HBCUs to minority, historically Black? So how would we kind of solve this issue? Because they rely on their alumni to refer students to them.
So one thing is alumni, like what we were trying to also say in it is, like, alumni, if you create a great alumni, no matter what the fact of, like, if having one of your, say, your kids or your grandkids going down the road, going to the same college as you, if you get them to love the university, no matter the fact of if you like, some people think they're going to the school, they're going to donate money because their kid is going to go to school. But if you get them in their head that, like, we want them to donate because they loved having time at the school and they loved that they don't have to worry about that, then that is one thing about how we still think the donations would work well in it, even if they don't have to worry about their kid or grandkid or cousin or someone like that. Someone in their family would go.
Yeah, and were you able to research any of that?
I
know that Virginia had a pretty good response to their shift towards merit-based. There's still going to be a few people that are going to complain about it or not like it, but the majority of people are pretty happy and pleased about the shift. And it was unanimously passed for the Merit Act as well. So overall, it has had pretty good responses.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up question for Hannah on, I just was looking back at my notes, and you said you were talking about the lawsuits, the one at Berkeley that got dismissed eventually, but and that how it ignited more lawsuits. Do you know of any of the outcomes of the other lawsuits? Did any of them make it through?
I know that there was one against Harvard. I didn't look into that one a lot, just because the University of Berkeley was one of the first ones, so it kind of started it all.
Okay.
I think that a lot of them get through due to the discrimination against other, like, again, like, it's typically white wealthy families that get through, so a lot of the lawsuits kind of piggybacked on that. And they've been successful, but that was just one of, like, the bigger ones that kind of caused the snowball effect.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, just kind of jumping in. Big topic. I definitely think you guys have hit a vein with this, so thank you for doing that. With that said, I've kind of two questions. One is the bigger question is, like, what's the ask of us, the actions to do? Like, you've laid it out, like, just to kind of help me get that back. And also, what kind of pushback, if any, would exist? Because I imagine it's kind of institutionalized how things are operating right now. So have you explored what people may do to push back against what needs to be done, which is the effort you're championing right now?
Some pushback would be that alumni might not be as happy because their family members may not be going there, but over time, like up front, the school, if it's like not a state school, states or some state schools might lose funding throughout the state unless they're state. A lot of states are against legacy admission, but if it's a private school, they might start losing donations up front. But if you continue to grow through the alumni, then it could be better in years on that. That's what I know. That's what I've like read up on some of my research. That's what a lot of them were saying, how like in Virginia, how they got rid of some schools did, and they said up front they lost money because of the alumni, but over time they grew and grew and grew and got bigger.
Thank you. And the question still stands in the end, but also another question does come up. What have been the results of the lawsuits? I mean, they've been logged and gone into litigation, of course, but what happened with those, by and large?
I think, like I said, I think that a lot of them are piggybacking on the more of the discrimination, because that is something they can kind of prove through admissions within the universities. I think it's a little harder for them to prove that students were unfairly disadvantaged. I mean, they can with like cases where students that 100% should not have gotten into the university got in, but most of them are piggybacking on the discrimination aspect of it. But they're just starting to roll through. It's a pretty newer thing. I mean, there was the 2009 one, but that one took until 2011 to even come with an outcome of which was dismissed. But yeah, most of them are using the discrimination aspect of it. And there have been some successful ones.
I'll go ahead and step in here. One of the things I thought was interesting was whether transparency in the actual admissions process, so sort of the criteria that they use to admit students, that there doesn't seem to be a ton of transparency in that process. Did you kind of factor that in or consider how that might play into how these legacy admissions sort of bypass the traditional formula, and whether transparency is an important part for potentially eliminating this bias?
I think transparency is key. I think if universities were transparent about what they were doing, and if more people knew that 30% of some universities are legacy admissions, I think it would be a much larger talked about thing. I think a lot of it is more hidden behind the scenes. So I think transparency would almost be the first thing that needs to be done, with just letting people know how much legacy admissions is still done within the universities.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I have a piggyback question on that. Is having implemented admissions software for many years, did you guys address the question that admissions processes, including transparency, are all over the map? And some institutions could argue that they only admit students with all of the criteria, and legacy students don't necessarily get a leg up. Like everybody meets the minimum merit requirements.
Yeah, we've thought about that, and one thing was just sometimes they don't have to go through the whole application process that other students have to, or there are a lot of cases where they don't meet the criteria. I mean, yeah, there are times that they do meet the criteria, and that's fine, but why would they need legacy admissions if they could get into the school without it? I think that's the whole thing, where it's, if
Okay.
you can get into the school without legacy admissions, you shouldn't be using it at all. And if you can't get into the school without legacy admissions, then you shouldn't be going. I think that's the point we're trying to get across,
Okay.
is
So
either
positive
way, legacy
transparency.
admissions is not needed.
Okay. That probably, I think Devin, you had a question. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. The first one that we've referenced a couple of times is Berkeley case. It was dismissed. Do you know why it was dismissed?
I think it was just one of the first cases that was brought about, and it wasn't very clearly laid out. I think there was like some kinks in it that needed to be worked out, but I think that's just the main case because it was the first one, and it kind of showed people that they can sue for legacy admission. So that's why I included that one. But I think it just had some kinks that weren't really worked out completely before the whole case got brought to the judge. But it was just the first one. So that's why I chose to talk about that one. I know there was another one against Harvard. So there's some big ones, but that was just the first one.
Okay, I think that's important to know. If we're considering, if our reasoning for doing away with legacy admissions is because there's a legal risk, I would want to be certain that that is a risk. I mean, anyone can bring a lawsuit, but can anyone prevail on a lawsuit? Is it going to become established law? Is that the risk I'm facing? Or am I just facing a trend of people thinking they might be able to get some money for, filing a discrimination lawsuit based on this issue? My other question would be, did you run across any studies or any analyses about the negative impact of losing the donations that are tied to the legacy admissions? Because, taking the devil's advocate's position, you could say good comes from these additional donations. I mean, additional donations could mean additional scholarships. So one legacy admission could generate 5 scholarships for students that otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford to come to that university. And so I think that there needs to be a balanced analysis that says, okay, if you want us to consider doing away with our legacy admission policies, we need a kind of an understanding of what the impact is going to be, both positive and negative. I think everyone, if we could just maintain the same funding, yes, there is stigma to legacy admissions. There's no question about it. But, we've got to understand what the real impact is going to be to us in terms of doing away with legacy admissions. And we need some data to see what that's going to be. So did you see any discussions like that? Like, here's maybe the upside of legacy admissions?
So yeah, legacy admissions do end up bringing in like a lot of money for the schools because people like to donate to schools, even if your kid goes there, you like donating to schools if you have the money to donate. But yeah, upfront, definitely some schools would end up like their numbers of revenue would go down for donations in the first couple of years. But like I said, if you continue to grow, so maybe the first couple of years, it might be like 5-10 years, depending on how well it is. But if you get all right with like really good with the alumni after they graduate from college and everything like that, and the alumni doesn't matter if their kid can go there or not, they can end up making more money over time because they wouldn't have to, because then people wouldn't worry about if their kid can go there or if like one of their relatives can go there too, if they just love the school itself and not because there's some catch to it to donate money. Then at the end of the day, you could double your revenue over years. But first couple of years, yes, your revenue would probably take a hit for some of the schools.
Great. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question and then we can exit our roles and give feedback on the presentation itself.
I've got one last one if no one else does, and it is actually about our role specifically, about us as audience members. Choosing the American Association of Colleges and Universities Forum on Transformational Leadership, why do you feel like this audience in particular would be perceptive or the key audience, us, to help usher in this change?
I think we chose this audience mainly because they are the people that can start the ball rolling of changing admissions at their universities. That was one of our legal solutions that universities themselves can change their policies. They don't have to wait for the state to change policies for them to stop doing legacy admissions. They can decide themselves, hey, this is wrong. And we see that now, and we see that if we stop doing it, yeah, we're going to lose money for a little bit, but we'll grow a stronger bond with our alumni, that we're not just worrying that they're going to graduate and they're going to give us money, then we're going to have to take their kids into the universities.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much. So we will now give you a little bit of feedback from our points of view and just how you did in the overall presentation to help you when you're approaching similar audiences like this in the future. Why don't we start with, we'll kind of go the people that didn't get as much time. How about Mike? Did you want to start off with?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Hey guys, great job. I'm sure it's a lot of work to get this far. So just congratulations on putting the time together to be here. What I wanted to do is give things I noticed, which is going to be in the arena of just the presentation. There's content and then the actual presentation. First thing that caught my eye that will help you guys is some kind of uniform screen behind you as a team. So right now I'm seeing various housing backgrounds. If you tighten that up where you have a uniform screen, whatever that may be, it creates you as a team. Right now, it's more of individual. So that's something that to me was a big missing. In 3 years of doing this has always been that background there, and it's always been to the benefit. Something else I know if I look here, Peyton, I can see you, Peyton Walsh, I can see you, but not clearly. So allowing us to see you with better lighting, whatever the case may be, and this is for the team in general. So those points are just how you present yourself, kind of just getting that first foot in the door, right? Something else that came up as a topic in all of the interaction was just, it would benefit greatly to do more data research, to have more concrete information on where your information is coming from, or like something examples, the lawsuits, what's more data on that? Like, what are the outcomes? Why not look into one more than the other, and so on? So there's some polishing there. But also you've picked a very important topic, because I mean, there's, how do we determine how the future is treated and how they're able to get into university and progress? But for me, that stood out. The first thing I saw was that, and it just colored throughout the presentation, and it would help you in your next round. So I hope that information helps you guys.
Thank you.
Great. That was excellent, Mike. Thank you. Devin?
Yeah, so thank you for this. My comments would be to second what Michael said, more data. I would have liked to see more data, more detail on this, and exactly, proving out the points that you're trying to make, or at least supporting it with some detail that we could go then confirm for ourselves. Before that, though, my first comment was in the opening slide, it felt like legacy admissions are bad was just a fact, and you guys were explaining us how to deal with the badness of it. I think it would, and so that first slide made me feel a little defensive, like, oh, if I'm doing legacy admissions, I'm a bad administrator and I'm being judged. So I think a more persuasive approach would have been maybe more effective in saying, here's the benefits. Look at all the good things. Again, more data. Look at all the benefits that colleges received when they did away with their legacy admissions. And then you could go to the stick, and here's the exact number or some estimation of the number of lawsuits that have been filed. You don't want that. You want the carrot. Don't get the stick. It becomes more persuasive like that. And then my final comment would be this screen right here. You left the thank you slide up. And so it's harder for us to see each other. So if you had stopped sharing and let the Zoom tiles get spread out so we could see who all was here, I think it would have been helpful to connect with you better. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Devin. You guys can ask follow-up questions too, if you have any with what everyone says. Brent?
Great, thank you. Great job, everyone. good teamwork here. Just echoing Michael and Devin, just, doing this alone is putting yourself out there, and I definitely applaud you for this presentation and what you've done so far. Building on some of the feedback already, the data thing is key. It doesn't have to be, a ton of like a lot of info. It can just be bullet points, just sort of like the key takeaways of some of the lawsuits or some of those things. For example, Ben, you put together, you shared a really great thing during that last one more thing, not just your personal story, which is impactful, and it's a great way to end the conversation. Having an impactful sort of subjective personal story is a great way to end. So I applaud that, but also you shared that one great statistic. It was like 75% of Americans in a poll. So if you actually had that, not even you probably could have separated those two and had that earlier on, that statistic, and even having a source in there could be impactful as well, to say, this isn't just something that we think is important, but clearly, the American public as well as admission directors agree that this is something that should be looked at and dealt with. So that was a great statistic. I would just suggest actually adding that in to a slide and maybe even having that earlier on separated from that. But again, great job on that ending. The way that you start and the way that you end are really kind of two of the most impactful ways when you go through a presentation. So I really applaud that approach that you took there. The last note I had was during the Q&A, Devin, good point about ending the presentation so we can all sort of see each other, but also don't be afraid to bring it back up to reshare when you're going through Q&A and referring back to certain slides that answered the questions. It's easy to get lost, and you guys were able to say, yeah, we addressed that earlier, but being able to go directly to that slide and saying, here was where we presented it. Particularly, I think one of Devin's other last questions was about the benefits of legacy admissions. And I think it was the second or third to last slide that I felt like you had done that in terms of showing some of the benefits of legacy admissions, the funding and things like that. So those are just some tips that I think could help you moving on. And overall, great job. I felt like for the most part, you did a good job with your tone and inflection to really kind of have a conversational style rather than reading so much. And Ryan, I applaud you for working through where you stumbled through, and as I think the sophomore amongst this group, great job. I think you were reading from a script a little more than the others, but overall, just great job sticking through it, going through it, and overall, great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Rochelle, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you all for having the courage to address such a tough, controversial topic. Emotions can get pretty high. I have some feedback for, I'm not sure if it was Ryan or Ben, but I would leave out the white rich kids thing, even though it's kind of true. It can put people on the defensive. And then Ryan, I also have trouble. You came across as very authentic, but I also have trouble with stumbling and getting lost. And so I would just advise you to do whatever makes you feel more confident, and do that before the presentation, and maybe practice a little more or maybe practice less. I'm not in, I don't know what motivates you, but I'm sure you can do it, and I'm sure you can do it flawlessly when you want to. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I would say I know that we've said quite a bit of the same, which I had some of those topics. I think that one of my solutions often when I go into business or go into a presentation, especially if I know it's going to be difficult asking, a bunch of lawyers that are going to ask a bunch of lawsuit questions, because you have a lot to research, right? So what do you know to research? So one of the things that I do is just a really quick mini version of my presentation and see what questions just naturally come up. Just do the presentation, see what they come up with, then go and do a little bit of research on those things, and then do a presentation again and see if you start to have those answers. And so that's one of the things, it's also a good trick in business that, you know, if one of the really difficult people is you call them ahead of time and say, hey, I'm going to be in your meeting. Is there anything I could address for you directly? What are some of the key things you'd like me to have ready for you? And then they feel like they have a connection with you and you're ready to go, right? And then I think everyone did such a good, you know, you guys did a good job. I do like the idea of having a uniformity background so we know that you're all part of the same team. And if you feel like you're presenting poorly, try not to get down on yourself and say, darn, oh shoot, you know, because that just points it out more. But you can find that just by practicing. So overall, excellent job. Do you guys have any questions for us after we presented or talked to you about your stuff?
I don't think I have any. I think we're all set.
Yeah, so good. So as far as next time you present it, consider this, that practice round as well, right? And what were the questions we asked? So write some of those notes down and then you'll have that research and ready to go for the next group.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Great
Bye.
job.
Thank
Amy.
you.